everybody, welcome to Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is episode 330 and it is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and for being here and for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. I really appreciate it. Before we begin, if you're newer here or you're feeling a little bit unsure about how everything fits together, there are two links right down below this video that might help. The Start Here guide walks through how the community works and where people usually begin. And then Ketchup and Pickles, which is also linked down below, is the monthly newsletter. And that's where everything's, all the links are for everything that's been released, everything that's coming up. Like I said, think of it like a newsletter. If you're already familiar with all of those and you are a seasoned member and you've been around for a really super long time, thank you for being here. And you don't need to do anything. So we will just jump right in. I live just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. We are having this crazy fog the last week or so that's been kind of interesting. And people have been reporting that they've been able to see the northern lights because of this solar flare that we're having, or the solar storm. What did they call it last night on the radio? So that's been kind of neat, but it's been anywhere from like 13 degrees Celsius all the way down to like -2. It's been all over the place. We've had a couple of frosts. At this time of year, that wouldn't be unusual. It's just what's unusual is the warm. So I think it was last week, both of the kids were in t-shirts and jeans because it just felt so warm. It was crazy. And then on the weekend, Nora was playing. She played 2 games. So at the beginning of the first game, it was like the sun was out, it was warm, the turf was a little bit slippery. And by the end of the second game, it was dark, the lights were on, we were all in like toques and mitts and it, jacket zippered up. Like, it's just these like crazy swings right now of weather. So I know a lot of people are experiencing, a lot of cold and stormy weather and snow and lots of like very cold -degree weather. And I just hope that wherever you are, that you're warm and that you're well fed and that you're with loved ones and doing something that you really enjoy. There's nothing like having a sweater on your lap at this time of year to keep you warm. You don't need a blanket, you just need to knit a sweater. So yeah, Eve says this month has flown by. I have actually found the same. And then yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about February, but I actually somehow completely like X'd out the 4th week of January. So I was talking as if like next week was February, and she was like, no. She's like, that's wrong. There's another week. And I was like, really? There's another week? And we looked at the calendar and I'd completely like gotten rid of an entire week. But it does feel like this has definitely flown by. So Kath is working on fingerless mitts for her son. Amazing. Eliane is here, Eveline, Lily. It's so good to see you guys. Welcome to Eve. Very cold here, says Eliane, -2 to -18 at her cabin. It's been down to -31. And of course, she's located in Norway. Amazing. Yeah, really cold. I was talking to my cousin yesterday. It was his birthday. And they live in Winnipeg, and it was -32 with the wind chill. And like he even said in this text, he's like, it's just so hard to be outside. And Winnipeg is known for really strong wind, and they do get really bad winds when it gets cold. And he works for the NHL for the Winnipeg Jets, and he was saying like even just going into the stadium. And into the rink and stuff on the weekend when there was a game, he said it's just so cold. So I said I wasn't sad that I wasn't there in the winter. We were going back and forth a couple of years there. For those who've been around for a while, my mom and I were going back and forth to Winnipeg at all times of the year, and that was actually why I'd always had a parka, and then I had a couple of years where I didn't have one anymore, and I reinvested in one year, and I guess it's been almost 2 years now, and I felt like it was so much money to spend, but I have been very thankful ever since that I have it. Yeah. All right, so we have a very full show. As you guys probably could tell from the show notes if you looked at them, and the show notes are also linked down below. It'll take you to Patreon. You can also look on the blog. That also is the show notes are often cross-posted there at woolandspinning.com. Yeah, and let's see, what do we have going on today? I think we can just run the intro credits and we can get right into the show. But I wanted to spend some time talking about my Make 9 and why I almost didn't make one for this year. And we'll talk about some spins in progress, which are all sitting here. And that'll take us into community participation. So lots of fun. And I will see you guys on the other side. So I almost didn't make a Make 9 for 2026, and the reason was because I made one for 2025. I really like making a Make 9. Make 9, for those who aren't familiar with them, basically gives you a grid of 9 sort of, photos, if you will, that grounds you for the year and gives you your roadmap for making for the year. And some people really like it and some people really don't like it. And then there's kind of those of us who are in between who could take it or leave it. What I really like about it is that it gives me a roadmap for the year. It gives me something where if I'm not sure what to work on next, I can go back to my Make 9 and be like, oh, okay, I wanted to do that. Let's do that next. What I don't like about Make 9 is sometimes I'll look at it and, halfway, 3/4 of the way through the year, it doesn't resonate anymore. Things have changed or things have shifted. I tried a different type of Make 9 last year that was around sort of deepening practice, and thinking a little bit differently about how I approached my Make 9, but the whole year went completely off the rails. And those of you who've been around for a while know all about that. And energy levels, recovery, all of that kind of stuff, just the entire experience in and of itself, the psychological healing that comes afterward, the physical healing, all of it just kind of culminated that in the fall, I looked at my Make 9 and I was just like, this just doesn't resonate anymore. I don't have the energy. I don't have the inner resources and the spoons, as Rebecca would say, to approach this right now. So what I've actually done with my 2025 Make 9, because it's still something that I want to do, I've actually archived it and put it on hold, and I've made a folder that says Make 9, and I'm going to come back to it in the future when it resonates. And it might be like midway through a year, or it might be something down the road that I approach that's maybe a multi-year exploration. A lot of it was around cotton and wanting to deepen that practice. So I almost didn't do one for this year because I ended up abandoning it last year, like I said. And I wasn't really feeling the new year this year. I usually get quite energized in December and January, and I usually feel really positive and really uplifted, and I'm excited about the new year and the potential of the new year. And this year I just didn't feel that, and I think there was a lot of reasons for that, but I just felt more quiet and needing a little bit more, I don't know if centering is the right word, but just grounding. I needed I needed some time to just sit and reflect on what happened last year and start to process some of it. And then also to enter this year with just deep kindness for myself and what I can and can't accomplish. I don't know if any of this resonates with any of you guys, but that's very much how I entered the year. And so what I did was I took some inspiration from Diane, who's a very longtime member of our community, and then I think it was Megan, who's also a longtime member of the community. They're both like they're part of the group that's sort of some of the originals. They had written down lists and made like a grid, kind of like the Spindle Bingo on Instagram, where you've got like a grid of bingo to complete. They did the same thing, but listing out all of their projects that they want to finish, stuff that they want to work on, things that they want to do. And I didn't see all of it completely. It was on the Slack channel, and just New Year's was quite busy for us. We had family staying, and it's just busy. But this is my bullet journal, and I showed this really briefly on the January reflection video that went up on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday this past week. But what I did was I made a big grid. I got out some stickers that I love. They're all of like succulents. And I made a grid, and I just started writing things down that have either been languishing for a really super long time and I want to get them finished, or stuff that is stuff from it's all from stash, but it's stuff that like I've been just kind of dreaming about for a long time. So I kind of made this grid and I started to fill it out, and I left tons and tons and tons of blank to add as the year goes on, because there will be stuff that comes up that I want to do. So there's things like finish my LB pullover. I have to rip and re-sew the turtleneck part of it, the neckline. That's actually why it's stalled. It's not because it's not still great. I just haven't had a chance to work on it. I need to do the finishing on my log cabin, my double weave log cabin blanket. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on here. My Corriedale combo spin that I'm working on that we'll talk about today. So it's just like a whole bunch of stuff that is, some of it's works in progress, some of it hasn't been started yet. And I put if you look closely here, I put I don't know what the right word would be, like what the making is, like, knitting, spinning, weaving, spin to weave, crochet. I want to do another Jethro, but like that's not started yet. I don't have the yarn for it yet. And I use my bullet journal every day. This is something that I use every single day. I've already done next week. I put quotes in here for myself to give myself reminders about my creative life and what's helpful. If making only happens after everything else, it will disappear. I have several people in my life that are like that. They put in their creativity after everything else, and of course it never happens. Yeah, so I just have all these quotes in here, and I obviously started a new one for the new year. I usually don't start it right on January. I finish through my week however the dates fall, and then whatever the first full week of January is when I start my new one. This year I actually put in, you guys are gonna laugh, I actually printed out and I put in Spindle Bingo. This is an Instagram thing that is if you search the hashtag Spindle Bingo 2026, it will come up. And basically you try to create play bingo, and you try to do grids of 5, rows of 5. Sorry, you can go diagonal, you can go across, up and down. And this is going to wrap, I think it's the end of March is when Spindle Bingo wraps, but I thought, you know what, I'll throw it in the front of my book. I haven't started a spindle project yet for 2026. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I just thought I'll keep this, and if it takes me the whole year just to do it for myself, that's totally fine. But I threw it in the front just for some, every time I open my book, it's like a little bit of inspiration. Even though I don't think I'm going to be able to participate in the time frame that they're doing it. But my friend Melody is involved with it, and of course I want to support her. So so that was kind of where it started, was I started to make that grid, and I started to kind of think about, okay, what's in my stash that I want to do, and what do I want to focus on? And from there, I started to make a grid. And so this is very specific because I pulled it out of my grid that I was making in the back of my bullet journal. So these are the things, as I was making my grid, it was like, what's non-negotiable? What do I want to finish by the end of the year that's non-negotiable? What did I bring with me to my mom's house? Because I had to be very selective about what I brought. And what would be a nice to finish, a nice to have. So that's what I did. Dion says I do a make 4 and try to get each item done within 3 months. I love that. So then you kind of have a goal for each quarter. That's brilliant, Dion. And it totally takes the pressure off, right? It's almost like doing a mini spinDecember every 4 months. Or every 3 months, sorry. So you've got kind of January to March to work on something, April to June to work on something. If it bleeds into the next quarter, it's okay. I really like that, a make 4. That is a really good idea, Dion. And feels really approachable. So what I did with my make 9 is I'll just go through the grid here, top to bottom, and then I've got a couple of things that I wanted to share with you as I kind of created it. So my plan for the year, and this could go out the window, but I don't think so, because this is stuff that I was planning in 2025. This top one is my Corriedale spin that was Anne Grafton, the New Zealand Corriedale. I really want to knit an August cardigan. I'll show it to you in just a moment. The second one over is a Jacob Lincoln fleece. I have about 700 grams, I think is what Dion sent me, and I have partially processed it. I do have it here at my mom's house, but I left it in the garage where it's accessible at my mom's house. And all I need to do is pick it open and card it, but I just haven't gotten to it. It'll be a really good project though for in the summer when I could actually have my electric carder going on our table outside and just run it through and work on it one day and get it done. The third one over I'll share with you guys a little bit more about is a weaving project that I want to do. I only made myself 2 weaving projects for the year because I wanted lots of flexibility around other things that I maybe want to do without kind of pinning myself into a corner. So those floral napkins might morph into small fingertip towels. I'm not totally sure yet because I'm changing the yarn. We'll talk about it later in the show, and if we don't get to it today, I'll share it with you next show. But I'm using 216 cotton in natural, and my set is going to be a little bit more open than what's called for in the pattern. And the pattern, if we don't get back to it today and we run out of time, it's from Handwoven this summer of 2025. We also need to pause here for just a quick sec. James just texted, the buses are delayed, and he's like, hello? The poor guy, he's so good about stuff, but every so often, we try to be available for him because he's had so many changes this fall. And he's had so much that he's had to cope with, which is amazing. He's done incredible. But he had his last exam this morning for math, and it was almost 2 hours. And he's been coping so well. He's worked so hard. But when he texts, I want to make sure that I'm responding to him. So I'm sorry to have to do that during the podcast. I know you guys understand. So the floral bouquet napkins were from Handwoven summer of 2025. So it's sort of it was released just about 6-8 months ago, and they're actually, the warp is wound for them. They're on the loom. If we don't get to talking about them in any great detail today, we'll talk about them next time. But I'm going to start warping over the weekend, hopefully. And so I'm changing the set on those a little bit. The next one down here, the overshot scarves, I'll share that with you right now. This has been something that I've kind of had percolating in the back of my mind for a couple of years now. I don't know about you guys. Please tell me in the chat if this is the case, if you have this as well. I have all of these skeins. Here's 3 of them that I brought with me to my mom's house. They just happen to all be Bramble Ridge, and they happen to all be Megan's, but that's just a coincidence. But I have these 3 skeins here, for example. They're all sort of around 500-600 yards, 115 grams. And I just don't know what to do with them. I don't want to knit a ton of shawls. I really have been trying to save my hands when it comes to knitting for stuff that I really want to make, just because I do find that repetitive motion of knitting does sometimes aggravate my hand, especially my right hand. And I've had this plan in the back of my mind for quite a long time now to throw a warp on the loom that's quite long, that would do at least 5 or maybe even 6 scarf stole type ideas. So a bit wider, maybe sort of 18 inches wide by about 72, maybe 84 inches long in natural cotton, probably 8-2, just because that's what I can get the most easily. I might do some sampling at the end of my warp of the floral napkins and just play around with maybe 16-2, so be a bit finer. And using these for the overshot, and combining and sort of that idea of sort of the wool for the pattern weft, and then the tabby in the cotton, and doing some sampling and weave up 5-6 sort of stoles, if you will, that would really showcase the colors and showcase these skeins of 2-ply. These are all 2-ply. Some of them are darker, like this one. It was the Giddy Up, the Calgary, Knit City Calgary colorway from 2024. This one was the Cost of Eggs. It's got these beautiful greens. This one is my favorite. It's Mushroom Hunt. But like, they all have their own individual kind of look to them, and just being able to showcase each of them. And it's not to use them up or to get rid of them or anything like that, but it is a little bit of stash busting and getting these yarns like out of my stash, because I have so many of them. And I kind of thought, like, if I could use 5 or 6 of these skeins and do all of these stoles, and they would all be sort of slightly different in length depending on how much yarn I have, because I would just weave until I run out of yarn kind of thing. I would have all these beautiful stoles to be able to wear and use, because I actually really do wear and use them. I love them so much, and having different ones would be really great. I know Dion was saying I could also find some of the yarns that coordinate and make fabric, because, like, for example, Mushroom Hunt and the Price of Eggs, these two are the same greens. So while Mushroom Hunt has all of this beautiful orange in here, the Price of Eggs does not. It's much more muted and much softer. So I have thought about that, Dion, and I think you're absolutely right. You know, and just trying to sort of think outside the box with some of these. And then some of the other ones, like Giddy Up, for example, would just be so perfect as a stole, or some sort of a scarf. Like, it just would be such a... It would be really dramatic, like it would be really quite stunning, I think. And then finding some, you know, finding and modifying an overshot pattern that would just be really simple, that would be to show off the yarn. So nothing super complicated, nothing really super detailed, because the yarns are going to move and change in color too, because they're all slightly variegated. So that's something that I've been thinking about. Oh, Christine, she's balled up skeins of handspun of weight, and she's going to weave fabric for a tunic dress. That's going to be incredible, Christine. Beautiful. Evelyn, the weaver to RSI repetitive strain injury to the knitter to RSI to weaver pipeline. Is that what you mean? Totally, Evelyn. And I've been so lucky with my hands. RSI stands for repetitive strain injury. For those who don't know that, oh, what's it called? The acronym. I've been so lucky with my hands, and they've been so good the last couple of years that I just don't want to overdo it. And I've been enjoying my knitting again. We'll talk about that later in the show. And so I just want to make sure that, oh, James is on the bus. Oh, good. I don't want to sort of jinx it and start to like really overdo it, and then I'm back where I was a few years ago. The next thing over is champagne. So champagne was, I'll show you that in just a moment, but this is from my Rideau Arcot spin that I did last year. I finished it in 2024. I started it, I think, in 2023. This was this beautiful yarn, and I've got the knitted gauge swatch here. Beautiful knitted swatch. This was on 3.5 millimeter needles. I think that's a US size 5. Is that correct? US size, yeah, it must be a US size 5. 3.5 millimeter needles. Oh no, sorry, this is 4 millimeter needles. Sorry, 4 millimeter needles, US size 6. And this was with 15% Tussa silk that I threw into this blend. So this was Rideau Arcot with 15% Tussa silk. It is beautiful. It's still woolly. It still has that woolly feel to it. It feels like maybe there's a little something in there, but it would be really hard for a newer spinner to put their finger on what it is. You know, it could be a little bit of Angora, or it could be a little bit of cashmere, or it could be silk. It doesn't have that crazy sheen that more silk will give you, that it kind of gives it away. But it still feels really super woolly. It has a little bit of just a tiny bit of a halo, and it's got that memory and bounce that we look for in our woolly fabric. So it's got good bias, and then it pops right back. Good memory, good elasticity. And so it kind of got me thinking, like, with that little bit of silk content in there, it would do really well, even though it's a 3-ply, it would do really well in a lace fabric. So I've tentatively settled on the champagne pullover, and I'll show that to you guys in a second. My problem is that I still haven't decided what color I want to dye the yarn. So you guys will remember all of my dye experiments on this yarn after I had finished plying it, and I still haven't really decided. And the actual pullover in the pattern is knit in just plain white, and it's very elegant and it's very sleek looking. And I'm actually leaning towards just knitting it in white because I just can't decide about a color. And like, these colors are beautiful and I love them so much. I love this green. I really love this green. It's a bit bluer. But then I also love the yellow. Like, I just, you know, this was the original lock, if you guys are interested, from way back when. This year, like, it's going to be a while ago. It's got beautiful crimp, a lot of bounce, that charolais in there. It gives that downy, bouncy quality to it that's so lovely. And it's funny because if I had seen this fleece back when I bought it, which was 2019, it was a friend that bought it for 4 of us, and we split it in 4 ways. If I had seen it back then in 2019 and I hadn't, and I wasn't the one that bought the fleeces, but if I was the one that was buying the fleeces, I think I would have overlooked it. And I'm so glad that she chose it and included it, because it was so great to process. It was easy, it was downy, so everything just bloomed. So that's that one. Toothy is a, yeah, Eve, I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure. She's asking if I'll dye it. Toothy was West Coast color. Let me just scroll down my notes here. It's coarse. I'm spinning it as a very thin 2-ply. The original plan was to spin it long draw, which is exactly what I'm doing, because there's a lot of short bits in the roving from West Coast Color. She gets it from a Canadian mill. It's just sort of wool, pool wool. So it's a tiny, tiny bit coarse. There's, like, you know, Perrindale in there and Corriedale and Down, Suffolk, anything that kind of comes from the Canadian wool pool. And I have enough, and I'm down to the last 2 or 3 lengths of roving. Like, it's not going to take me that long to finish, but I want to have a big enough piece to make a piece of of clothing. And actually I actually have an image. Is it a pattern? Oh wait, I have an image of a local fabric, a local fashion designer. And we were walking on Granville Island, and she has a store down there on Granville Island in Vancouver. For those who know the Vancouver area, you'll know where I'm talking about. There's a lot of artisan studios down there. There's markets for food. And one of the artisans down there, she, in her display on her mannequins in the window, was a coat that would work perfectly for this fabric, because it's gonna be kind of chunky, a little bit thicker. So as I get further into that project later in the year, I'll share with you sort of what my thought process is, and I am gonna have to do some woven samples and go from there. The Romney is Twin Oaks. It's in Ontario. I've been using it for a couple of different projects that were for Weft magazine and Ply magazine, and it's appeared a couple of different times because I've been working on this fleece for a long time. And I actually am finally at the point where it's all lock popped, it's all processed. I just need to start carding it. So I actually did that. Let me share that with you. I worked on it this week. And I've already done so much sampling with this fleece. I know exactly how it spins. I just need to actually spin it. But this is the first bat that I pulled off of my hand crank carder. So this is my smaller carder, not my electric carder. And it's just airy and light and springy. And some of the staples are a little tiny bit shorter, so it really lent itself to carding versus combing. And it's hard to comb here at my mom's because I don't have my hackles. They're in the sea can. So this is the first little bit. This is just the first pass. And it came off beautifully just for the first pass. So I'm actually thinking I'm only going to have to card it twice. And I'll just do it bit by bit and spin up that little bit and then go on to the next, card it up, 2 passes, spin that up, and just keep building up and building up, and I'll eventually finish it off. I have no specific plans for this outside of it'll be a 2-ply, and this is all of it processed. This is what's left. So, and this is about 30 grams, I think 35 grams when I weighed it. It's not bad. I'm looking forward to that one being done because I feel like it's been hanging over me for a really long time. It hasn't really, but it just feels that way. So if I could get it processed and get the spinning and kind of have the spinning going at the same time as the processing and just kind of, you know, work my way through. Oh, hi, Pauline. She was on the train getting home. And then the bottom middle there is the half fisherman's rib that I was talking about last show out of my spinDecember yarn. We're going to talk about that in a minute, so we'll kind of skip it for now. But all of the spinning is done. All the plying is done. I was basically finished last episode and excited to share it with you guys. So that one's almost done, and we'll talk about that later in the show. And then the final project that I am in the process of finishing up, and this one should be done in the first quarter of this year, is my Sweet Georgie Yarns combo spin. So this is the Corriedale combo spin, and we'll talk about it later in the show as well. So that's kind of my make 9 for the year. And I thought what I would do is show you the August cardigan and the champagne cardigan. I thought I would show those to you. So this is hang on, let's go back to the beginning. So this is the August cardigan. It is designed by Joanna, I'm not sure how to say her last name, Greisch, Gehrisch, Greisch, I think it's Greisch. And this, I did my gauge swatch out of my Anne Grafton Corriedale. So this is that yarn that I did earlier this year. It's a beautiful Corriedale, soft and springy, and I knit it quite densely on 3.5 millimeter needles, US size 5s. And the gauge swatch, again, really good memory, good elasticity. It's a little bit denser. I knit it a little bit tighter because the Corriedale is so fine. And the finished yarn, I've got enough yardage for that cardigan. So that is just waiting to be cast on. I have my little sample skein that I did here. And so I'll set that aside, and I won't use it unless I absolutely have to. But I'll get one of these bigger skeins skeined up. I've got 4, including this one in total. I'll get them skeined up and cast that on when I get a chance. I just haven't had a chance. So that's this yarn. Really lovely, lovely Corriedale. Very fine, very bouncy. It doesn't even feel like Corriedale. It feels finer than that, like more like a merino or a really long stapled soft Polworth. It's just lovely. These are the floral napkins that I mentioned in my Make 9. It's just beautiful, beautiful pattern, very dainty, English rose garden vibes. I'll tell you guys more about that next show. And then this is the champagne pullover. So what I like about this, there's 2 things actually. I love Sari's patterns. This is a Sari Nordland pattern. I really like the double thick neck because even though it's a lace cardigan, it's going to be very warm. There's the 15% silk in my yarn, and then it's a downy yarn, downy breed anyway. So even with all the lace, it's going to be a very lightweight, airy cardigan. So having that double thick neck, like it just reinforces that it's a warm sweater. I really like the drop shoulder. Drop shoulder fits really nicely on me. I really like the feel of it. It's easy to wear. I'll reach for it more often if it has a drop shoulder. And then the sleeves aren't super tight. So in the other photos on the pattern website, when you look at it, the sleeves are a little bit looser. They're not like a bell. They're not like that bell shape that's really popular right now, but they are looser. They're not super, super, super tight. I just really like it. And so this was the yarn that I'll work my way. I'll start skeining it up, and I've got the initial gauge swatch, and then I'll start deciding. But I think I'm going to knit it in the white to begin with, and then we'll go from there. Just having a quick look at chat because you guys are going crazy about something or talking about something. Sam says, I was spinning and lost in time. That sounds amazing. Okay, so that is my Make 9. So thank you for listening to me wax poetic about it. It's been, mapping it all out and whatnot. Like, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually make a plan and stick to it. And I do have an overarching plan for sort of when I want to get things done by. And I'm just going to really make an effort to keep checking in with myself to make sure that, you know, it still fits, it still works, it's still what I want to spend my time on and what I want to do. I've been noticing lately that a lot of my project planning and a lot of what I want to be doing has been shifting more toward things that I can get into a flow with very quickly. So things that I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about or spending a lot of time figuring things out or doing math or you know, sort of being really super pre-processed. I can just get into the process and just settle into it. So I really tried to build my Make a 9 around flow and things that resonated with me, things that I was excited about, stuff that wasn't overly hard or overly difficult or onerous. And I think I've been able to accomplish that, and I think I've been able to do that. So I'd love to hear from you guys if you've made a Make 9, and if that's something that resonated with you or continues to resonate with you, that you want to do that, or if it's something that you've let go of. I know Make 9 was really big, 5-6 years ago, but maybe it doesn't resonate anymore. Maybe it's something that you've let go of or it never worked for you. Yeah, I'd love to hear. Okay, let's move on to some really interesting and some really interesting spinning that I've been working on. So I'm going to have to look at my notes for this because I'm not totally comfortable just being able to ream it off the top of my head. But I started working on my MellyKnits Delightful Advent. So it's 12 days of spinning. And Melissa asked me if I could spin up all of these as samples. So she needs all of it back. I don't get to keep this yarn at this point. I don't know if I eventually will be able to keep it, or if she'll give it back to me, or if she needs to keep it for her records. I'm not totally sure. But Delightful was the original Advent that MellyKnits offered. And it's sort of mostly fine wools, and they are meant to be like interesting fleeces that are combined with some weirdos. So like last year there was mink, this year day 2 was bison. So you take a fine fleece, something really wonderful and literally delightful to spin, and then the next day she throws something in there and combines it with something. So it might be 20% bison, or it might be, I think, day 4. So all of the even days are the mix-ins, and all of the odd days are the fleece just on its own. And like day 4 for this one is an Angora, and it's a farm Angora. It's actually, it's not like processed comb top or something. It's 20% Angora. And so that's day 4, and I haven't gone past day 4, so I don't know what comes after that. But day 1 was this beautiful dark Cormo that kind of spun off brand, if you know what I mean. So it's it's a coated Cormo. It was from Seven Spirits Farms in New York. And if you look at this, it's so soft. Oh my goodness, it is so soft. But if you look at the crimp here, it's just got this incredible crimp, and you can see the bounce. But when I went to spin it and I went to like start actually like, you know, doing the thing for Melissa, it doesn't feel like a Cormo. It sort of feels a bit off brand. And it was almost difficult to put my finger on like what it was. I'm not sure that if somebody had asked me what the fleece was and what I was spinning, I'm not sure that I would have said Cormo. And I've spun a very typical Cormo earlier in the year that was sent to me by Ellen from New York State, and it felt very like a Cormo to me. Like it was like, yeah, this is Cormo. This is what it feels like. Very fine, very crimpy, wants to spin very fine. But this has a slightly chalky feel to it almost. It just feels a bit off character. It was lovely to spin, this beautiful dark brown color. So this is how it came out for the first bobbin. Doesn't look like super interesting in bobbin form, but once it's plied, it'll be beautiful. And the idea with Delightful is that you ply the odd with the even day. So you take the odd day that's the fleece on its own, and then you take the even day, that's the fleece, the same fleece, but blended with 20% of something, and you apply them together. And so that makes like your first skein kind of thing. So this is day 2. Oh, and I have to keep these labeled because otherwise I won't know which one's which. So I have to like make sure that this is how I've been doing it. I usually do this with all of my bobbins. I don't know if you guys have seen me take photos and do this. You've maybe picked up on this, but I just use really little, very thin these elastic bands that come on some of our produce here. I wash them and I keep them, and then I can throw it around because they're so fine that they don't really stick to the singles or to the wool particularly. So that's the day 1. And then day 2, my other elastic band. And I was trying to do one of these per day, but I just couldn't keep up because life right now is a little bit too busy. But this one was blended with 20% bison down from O Canada Bison Wool Corporation in Alberta. And it was really interesting because spinning this right after the next day, the Cormo on its own, it became more difficult to put my finger on. So I already found the Cormo a bit off character, and it was already sort of like, I wonder if I would call this Cormo if I didn't know it was Cormo. And then you throw the bison in there and it's a full 20%, and it really didn't feel like Cormo at all. I'm not sure what it felt like, but it didn't feel like Cormo, but it still felt extremely soft. It was still very easy to spin. And because these fibers are so fine, I did a ply back sample and the 2-ply was too fine. It's just not thick enough. And you can't chain ply or 3-ply because you've got 2 different fibers that need to somehow be put together. So I ended up doing a 4-ply ply back test. It is so cool. I love it so much. And it has a little bit of texture from the bison. From that bison down. It reminded me a lot of spinning merino with yak. That's what it reminded me of in the spinning experience. So sort of some short bits that come through every so often, and you can either draft through it or you can kind of long draw through it a little bit and sort of allow the twist to even it out a little bit and pull it through. But this 4-ply sample, I love it. So I'm going to 4-ply it. So I'll create 2 center pull balls, and it's a wraps per inch of about 12, which is perfect if Melissa wants to knit some of this up, or wants me to knit some of it up eventually. So it's not so thin, because actually Eden was posting in the Slack channel earlier this week, I think, or over the weekend, and they were saying like, it's all very fine and well, some of these yarns that we, that they want to be spun a bit finer, and that we sort of follow our intuition and we spin along and we spin fine. But like, they made a good point. Like, it gets too fine at some point. What are you going to use it for? And I've really been finding that with some of my yarns, like it's just too fine. So I think they really like hit it on the head when they made that assertion. So this 4-ply sample is a little bit thicker. You could probably knit it up on 4mm needles and it would just make a beautiful fabric. So I'm excited to see that finished and plied together. And then I've already started working on day 3, which is this beautiful Corriedale. And you guys are gonna laugh because it's from the same place as the Corriedale that I am wanting to do the August cardigan from. So I kind of went into this spin expecting something very similar to that spin and what that spin felt like, and I was absolutely correct. So I'm not married to the idea of spinning all of these to make a 4-ply. I'm kind of just going to let them each spin how they want to spin. But this is another Anne Grafton Corriedale from New Zealand. Anna Grafton, sorry, I keep saying Anne, I mean Anna Grafton. And very bouncy, very springy, beautiful crimp, just like the Cormo had. Light tips. And again, like the Corriedales can be funny. Like they can be finer, but they can also be a bit more medium and more on the coarser side. And I think Cormo gets a bad reputation because of that, because some of it, sorry, not Cormo, Corriedale gets a bit of a mixed reputation because they can be a little tiny bit coarser, but a lot of them are really, really fine and are just beautiful to spin. So yeah, I started dividing these all up. So what I've been doing with them, and Rebecca, I see your question and I will answer it in just a sec, because it's a great question about the bison. So the Delightful, like they've all been coming sort of in these bundles of carded fiber straight off the carder. And what I've been doing is splitting them where I rip it down and split it again, and then if I can, splitting it again, and then wrapping them up into little nests and pre-drafting them. So this Cormo, sorry, I keep saying Cormo, it's because they're both C-O-R. Corriedale, this Corriedale, pre-drafted and went into its little nest just perfectly, just chef's kiss perfect. So I've got 5 more of those to spin. I've already got some of them on my wheel already, and I'm hopeful that I'll get that done today. We'll see. We will see. It's a little bit tricky because I'm finding some of my days, like I kind of have a plan and then it all goes to pot. So I know some of you know what that's like and live it as well every day. And it's just, you have to stay flexible and be able to pivot and all of that kind of stuff. Rebecca had a really great question. She says, how did the bison make the Cormo feel different? Did it feel a little slippery? No. It's such a good question. It didn't make it feel slippery. It made it feel actually a little bit stickier. It made it feel a little bit more like there was something in there with the Cormo, but because the Cormo was off character and wasn't what I would consider like a really stereotypical Cormo, and then you put the bison in there, I sort of found myself spinning, going like je ne sais quoi. I'm not totally sure. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is. And it was really hard as I was spinning to put my finger on it. And I kept thinking to myself, I need to be able to articulate this and talk about it on the show and tell you guys how it changed. And I'm not sure how. And you know how like when you add cashmere to something or Angora to something and it needs a bit more twist and they don't have any scales and you need like that little bit more twist to hold things together to give it that integrity. With the bison, it just kind of felt like there was something in there, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But I think the Cormo was so bouncy and springy that when you add the bison in there, like it was just sort of like, I don't know, there's something. And even in the 4-ply, like it's so incredibly soft that if you knew there was 20% bison in there, I'm not sure that you would be swayed one way or the other. Maybe it'll have more drape when it's knit up because the bison down will act differently. I'm not convinced. I think it'll just act like really woolly, really super warm yarn. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. No, it's not that different from Kiviot. So whatever you experience with Kiviot when you add 20% to a really super fine, springy wool, that's probably adjacent or similar enough that that kind of gives you an idea of what it feels like. It just doesn't feel that different from the 100% Cormo on its own. It's really interesting. Oh, fun. Pauline's gonna she carded up the BFL Corriedale that I gifted her back in the spring. She's gonna spin it supported. Oh, that'll be so lovely, Pauline. Lovely, lovely. Yeah, Evelyn says Corriedale totally doesn't deserve that reputation. All the Corrie I've done is just as soft as merino, but better behaved. That's such a good way of articulating it. It's way better behaved. It's so easy to work with. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I just find Corriedale is so easy to work with. I always enjoy it, and I always come away feeling like I want to work with it again. It's like, oh, when do I get to work with that again? Yeah, really great. The other thing that I've been working on is my combo spin. So this is my Sweet Georgia Yarns Corriedale. It's the Storm Chaser colorway, the Snow Angel colorway. This is Storm Chaser here on the photos. That's the Snow Angel colorway, which is this one here. And then the Patchwork Quilt, which has some yellows in there and some burgundies and just gives the overall, it offers some balance between the blue and the Storm Chaser and that plummy purple in the Patchwork Quilt. It just gives some interest. So what I did was, I told you guys about this already, but it's been a while. I took the braids, I divided them into 4 horizontally. So I split them in half and then split them in half again. It gave me shorter lengths of fiber to work with to create my little nests from. And then I threw them through the carder, just like what you saw in the photos just now. And this was actually a learning that I took from my original SOS combo spin. This one. So this spin was 3 colorways. It was Grouse, Woodland, and Tea Party combined. And if you look here on the far side there, I didn't split the braids at all. I just, oh, hang on. Stop, go back. Here we go. what I did was I took the braids and I stripped them end to end, and I stripped them like 16 times. So that's what gave me all of these nests of fiber here. There was 16 of each colorway, and then I matched them up, one colorway of each, and then I carded them, and that's what gave me that big bundle of fiber on the far right hand side of your screen. And the problem with that is that it just was too much fiber to hold. So as I was spinning, the final yarn that I got from it, and I put them each through my carder, the final yarn that I got, I felt like I completely lost the magenta because there was so much green. And so the green just kind of completely masked all of the magenta. So there was no areas where I was spinning, not that I want clean color when I'm doing a combo spin. The whole idea is to combine them and to kind of heather them all together. But the overall yarn, it was going to be green regardless, but the magenta was even more toned down. But also the spinning, there was just too much fiber in my hands. So I kind of took that learning, and I took that, these are the original braids here. I took that sort of reflection, and that was why I created these smaller nests. So as I've been carding them up, I divided them into 3 bags for 3 singles, 3 bobbins, sorry, not 3 singles. And it's given me much, much smaller. These are them all ready to card and all piled up and ready to go through the carder. It's given me much more manageable nests of fiber, because this is way more like the amount that I want in my hand for spinning. It's less, and then when the blue comes through, because the overall yarn is going to be very blue, because that blue is so dominant and it's going to take over. But I'm hoping that I won't completely lose all of the yellow. So I've been carding these up, and they're much, much smaller, as you can see right here in this photo. This is actually a perfect photo to show how small they are. And the lengths of fiber that I've been taking off the sides are very, very small. And each of the quarter of the bat, like each of these is a quarter of the bat. I've been getting about 22 of these from a quarter of the bat. So 22 of these, and then I throw them into the bag. They're ready to spin. And yeah, I'm almost there. So I've actually finished 1 full bobbin. So this is the first bobbin finished. And it's, like I said, it's very blue, but you can see the yellow in there. You can see that I've still been able to keep some of the yellow in there. And then you can see areas where it's all blue. And that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that. But very heathered singles. And the second bobbin is 3/4 of the way done. It's almost done. I just have that's the last little bit to spin. This is all I have left for bobbin number 2. I just have this last little bit, and then I can start bobbin number 3, which is half processed. So like, I'm getting through it really quite quickly, and my goal is to have that part of my grid done for my Make 9. I think I want it done by the end of February. I think the last show in February is my goal, to have that yarn finished and to be able to talk about it, and to have a gauge swatch and to have it like ready to talk about. I'm leaning really close. I'm leaning toward, and I'm not sure I can show you a photo this quickly. I might have to save it for next show to show you. And I know you guys have seen this project. Let me see if I can do it really quickly. Where is it? I'm leaning towards doing another field cardigan. It was the field day cardigan. It was the one that I did post my here, let me see if I can show you guys this. Hang on, bear with me for just a sec. Okay, it's nice to be able to show you guys some of this when we're actually talking about it, because sometimes it gets lost in translation, and I'm talking about something as if you guys know what I'm talking about, and you don't necessarily know. So this is my field day cardigan, and I knit this in the aftermath of our year of color, and it was my triad yarn. So it was the 1 singles that was equal parts red, yellow, and blue, and then the other singles I plied with a white, and it was a organic Pullover singles that I had spun years ago that I realized that I probably wasn't going to use. And it really doesn't take that much yardage to make this cardigan. And the Corriedale has been spinning up so fine that I think I'll have enough for at least 3/4 of the sweater, and I'll get some half braids to finish it off. And I'll probably have to spin some more yardage, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And then yeah, I think I'll make another one of these. I love this cardigan so much. It's one of my absolute most favorites. So yeah. If it's glitching for you, you might need to just refresh. Yeah. The other thing I can do actually on my end, I wonder if this would help. Just give me one sec here. There we go. Maybe that'll help. Let me know. I made a change. Maybe it'll help with the glitching a little bit. So let me know in the next like 5 minutes or so if it helps. Yeah, so that is that project. I'm excited about it. I feel really like excited about that one, and I want to get it spun. I want to get it done. I agree, Deirdre. She said it's well worth repeating, and I feel like I got the fit right. And if I were to make it again, this one is a tiny bit more fitted in the shoulders and the arms, but now that I have the original, there's a couple of little tweaks that I would make to do it again. And yeah, it would be nice to be able to do that. So thank you, Deirdre. That's very kind. Okay, knitting. Let's talk about knitting. I'm so excited about my knitting. And I'm going to grab my Diana and bring her closer, and we'll talk all about the knitting. Okay, I realized I had to clear off the floor before I could bring her closer. So let me grab her, and might have to adjust the camera a little bit, but hopefully this will be okay. Because there's a few things about this knit that I have to tweak a little bit. So this is my spinDecember. I was actually really hoping, this is so funny, I've never tried to do this on the podcast. In all these years, I've actually never tried to do this. I tried to get it finished for the show today, and I've never done that before where I've actually tried to get something done, but I am loving this knit so much. My sister-in-law wears a lot of oversized pullovers because she gets really, really cold. So she puts an undershirt on, like an actual thermal undershirt. And then she puts a really oversized sweater over top, and she tucks it into her waistband of her high-waisted jeans. And I really like the look. Like it suits me. Her and I dress very similarly. She's taller than I am, but we have very similar like we just like a lot of the same things. And she wears a lot of white and a lot of cream for work. And I like white and cream are fine on me. Ivory's actually a bit better on me, but I also am very aware that I, have a very busy life, and there's spills and there's things that happen. And this color I just love it so much. So I finished up all my spinDecember yarns, and I shared these with you last episode, but this was the one that was plied with the leftover of the triad from the sweater that I just showed you. So the triad, there was a whole bunch of singles left from this sweater that never got plied and never got used because I finished the sweater. So that one singles was plied with the remaining spinDecember singles. And then this one was the one that was plied with the sparkle roll legs that I told you guys about. So I kind of had a lot going on with my spinDecember just to like get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, clear off a whole bunch of bobbins. So this is the Terrazzo Pullover by PetiteKnits. And I made a couple of changes. For the ribbing, she does twisted rib, and I changed it to half fisherman's rib. So this is on my Make 9 grid, and you can see some of I don't know if you guys can see a little bit of that sparkle in there. And I made it baggy enough and gave myself enough ease all through here. It's hard to see on the camera, but there's enough ease and it's big enough that this will tuck into the waistband of my jeans, and I'll be able to wear it kind of more open and more like baggy. Like that. And you can see that there is a little bit of striping from the different yarns, but it's really pleasant and it works really super well. And the saddle shoulder at the top here, I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. If you get motion sick, just look away for 30 seconds. Let me just tip this up a little bit, up and over. There we go. So you build out from up here, and then you start to build your shoulder. So it's a little bit different in construction, where you actually kind of start at the back neck and you build out, and then you connect and start building down. I really like this construction because as you're building it, you can adjust it to be bigger or smaller. So you can keep going with the increases if you want, or you can stop and start building down. And you can add length without necessarily adding width. So it can be, and vice versa. You can add width without adding a lot of length. So there's a lot of things that you can do to manipulate this shape and really make it fit yourself. Because I don't want it to be really massive up here. Because when you have a lot of fabric around your neck and in the yoke, it'll start to bunch up and cause problems. Whereas this, but I wanted it baggier down in the body of the sweater. I wanted to have a lot of ease and to have a lot of movement. So I am just chuffed. I am so happy. It is just so much fun. The subtle color changes are gorgeous. Thank you, Pauline. It's just really fun. And I don't know if you guys can see it. It's picking up on my camera, but I don't know if that detail will come through for you guys. It probably will on 4K later when you're re-watching this, but there is a bunch of sparkle from that little bit of sparkle. The reason why there is, and actually you can see it on the back the best, is there were 3 skeins. And this one originally was quite big, but it built a lot of the yoke, so it's used up. I used all 3 of these skeins in the body. So I did 1 round in one yarn, the next round, and so on. So that's why you have the little bit of blue, and then there's blue down here, and then there's a little bit more blue, and then blue. It stripes more in some areas than others, and then it's really subtle and it disappears again. But I think once this is like washed and you're actually wearing it, you won't be able to tell. It'll just be really, really subtle. And then of course, on the sleeve, I'm alternating. So 1 skein, 1 skein, 1 skein, 1 skein. So the sleeves are coming out a little bit darker, but again, it matches the body of the sweater, so it's okay. So I'm hoping to get this sleeve finished this week, and then hopefully I'll get that one cast on and get it done. I'm just so happy. The only thing that is a bit of a pain, and I have to redo it, and I'm kind of annoyed with myself about it, is the collar is half fisherman's rib, and I just wasn't thinking. I did it reversed. So the half fisherman's rib, you have to, when you're doing a pattern like that, you have to think about which side you're doing the rib on, so that when you flip the collar and you make the turtleneck, you have it on the right side. When it folds over. So this is the wrong side of fisherman's rib. And somebody said to me, it doesn't matter. You can't tell that there's a difference, but in real life, you can tell that this is different from this. And my friend Megan, who's part of our community, she was like, oh yeah, if you know, it's the wrong side. And I was like, yeah. So I have to undo the tubular bind off. I did an Italian bind off, which we've talked about on the show before. I have to undo it, rip it out, and I'll redo it. But I'm going to save that for last, because then I'll be excited to get it done. And I know I have the yarn for it because the yarn's all right here. So that was kind of a bummer, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll redo it. It's okay. All good. I'm just enjoying it. I'm finding that love and that enjoyment of knitting again, and I think that's really what I was craving. So let me just move her back. And then I can reconvene over here. Whew. Let me change the camera again. Sorry for the movement, you guys. Yeah, so just catching up on, Christine can see the sparkles. Amazing. The Terrazzo Pullover. Yeah. TERRAZZO. Thanks, Rebecca. And it's by PetiteKnits. It's something that's been in my queue forever. I've been wanting to knit it for a long time. And my gauge wasn't super bang on, but it was close enough that I just had to make a couple of adjustments. And I only knit the body to 11 inches and then 3 inches of the fisherman's rib, the half fisherman's rib. I didn't make the body super, super long because I want to be able to wear it a bit cropped. I could have even gone an inch shorter, but I was a bit nervous because of my torso being so long. The half fisherman's rib I'm knitting on 3.5 millimeter or for US size 4. And the body, the stockinette, is 4mm US size 6. So yeah. I am a convert to the Italian cast off. Absolutely, Christine. Yeah. I still move the stitches. Like I still use the needle and I grab a second needle and I move the purl stitches in behind. I find trying to get in and out. Like I know Rebecca's really, really good at it. I just don't like having to do that. So I move the stitches. I find it's actually faster. So yeah, you have to move your stitches to the second needle, but it's faster once you get going. But yeah, I don't do any of the slip stitching or like slip stitches all the way around, go around a couple. I don't do any of that. To get that stretchy tubular cast off, I just go straight to the grafting. Yeah. Rebecca says, on a sweater I just finished, I did regular bind offs until it was all done and I could double check everything. And then she went back and did the tubular. That's really smart. I like that. I hate redoing those so much. I know it's so annoying to rip out. That's the part that I hate, is the ripping out. Yeah. I like the 2x2 tubular bind off. I did that on my, what's it called? The Andrew Mowry, the Trinigan. I did the 2x2 tubular bind off. It is clever. It is really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true, Pauline. That's why Make 9 is so helpful. You get to put in long languishing projects. It's so true. So true. Yeah. Okay. I think, it's funny because actually I do keep coming back to the Make 9. And I think that's part of the reason why I do come back to it again and again, is because it helps me get those languishing projects into my purview again. It gets me thinking about them again. And then I can decide if I want to pursue them and finish them, or if it's time to let them go and, you know, rip them out, or let the idea go, shift to something else if it's fiber based or spinning based. Decide if I want to keep going with that fiber prep or not. It just gives me an opportunity to sort of, you know, put it all in front of me and say, like, does this stuff still resonate? And often some of it doesn't. And I've really allowed myself that permission to say, that's okay, and to move on. It's hard to do sometimes, but I think it's important. Okay, let's do some community participation and I'm going to say goodbye. Oh shoot, how am I going to get, hang on, let me figure out how to do this. There is something that I have to do. There we go. Haha, I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. I'm still learning the Mac system, and it's like every so often I like nail something and it's like, yes, I figured it out. All right. So this is Florence's spin and knit along that she's been doing, that's focusing on making projects that are actually with fiber, yarn, fabric, patterns, tools that she already owns. So she's calling it 52 weeks of using what I have, which I just love. I think it's so fun. So other people have been jumping in on the Ravelry thread and doing it with her, which I think is amazing and really special. So this is from Christine. She knit a sweater at the end of December for her dog Archie. She used 3 strands of handspun that she had in her stash, and what a great fit. It's Hunter's Urban Dog Sweater with modifications to fit Archie, of course. Gorgeous, gorgeous. This is from Marie. This is part of Rebecca's knit along that they're doing to celebrate the release of Migrainer, her book. I talked about it last episode. She's shared a bunch about it in the Wool Circle. If you're curious for more, there are links down below. And Marie finished this using, I think it's a good idea to use stash yarns and fibers, and very good challenge for each week. She started Rebecca's Waves shawl with yarn from her stash, and I love the colors that you picked, Marie. Just beautiful. And she's got more finished photos on Ravelry. Yeah, Eve says behind the scenes peek. Yes, totally. All of the open windows and all the stuff that I have going on while I'm streaming. YouTube to make sure everything's running properly. My notes so I stay on track. Yes, all of it. I know she's such a fast knitter. Marie is such a fast knitter. Makes me think of Glenda. So spinDecember, people have been slowly finishing their stuff. This is from Rebecca. I love this so much. She's given it a bath. It's her spinDecember. She's calling this her Christmas dust bunnies. I love this so much. And I think her plan is to knit a waves shawl from it. I know she was talking about that on the Wool Circle this past week. Beautiful. And then General Makes and Shares. This is from Renata. She's been working on this for a little bit. She shared in queries in one of our Zoom groups about her plan to make the Sophie hood, and she's done. She did a 2-ply. It's Shetland and alpaca that she blended on her drum carder. The blend is Shetland in a smoky blue, light brown, black, and then dark gray alpaca. And she did it in the proportions that are listed there, 12:4 to 2:1. Just beautiful, Renata. And she's in Germany. I think it gets quite cold where she is. I'm excited I hope she eventually posts photos of her actually wearing it, because it is beautiful. Love this. Rebecca's going to try to cast on her wave shawl later today if she can stop knitting gnomes. Yeah, that's all Rebecca does now. She doesn't teach anymore or do any Wool Circle, or I'm totally joking. She just knits gnomes. It's also from Renata. She was playing with a blue textile that she washed last summer. One skein was singles, and then she did some wolf yarn, which was really fun to make. And Rebecca's going to be talking about wolf yarn later in the year. No, not that later in the year. Probably in February. She's going to be getting to wolf yarn if she stops knitting gnomes. Love this. So much fun. This is also from Marie. She knit a warm sweater with core spun yarns, mostly from Finn, but also other suitable green fibers. Beautiful knit. What a gorgeous sweater. I love all this color work. The flower with the leaves, beautiful. And then, of course, we've got our Year of Yarn. It's winding down. It was supposed to go over 2 years, and we were going to go from all of 2024, all of 2025, and we were going to wrap it up at the end of December. But there's been so much that Rebecca wanted to sort of tie, loose ends that she wanted to tie up and things that she wanted to finish, that it's bled into January and February, and we've just been embracing it and enjoying it. So this is from Alberto, his thick and thin multicolored sample for his beehive spin. I'm not sure if they'll be giant once done, but he didn't want tiny bumps. He wanted big ones. And so this is it finished, and he just did an awesome job. Final steamed pick of his sample skein. Look at the ones in here. Aren't those beautiful? He really nailed it with some of these. These ones that didn't turn out quite so well, he said were some of his first attempts. And then he really started to get the hang of it. Just gorgeous. And then this is from Ganilla. She started trying to make beehive and coils after watching the Wool Circle, and she's just done a beautiful job. Turned out much smaller than I expected. That is something that people find when they first start making some of this stuff. It's amazing how much fiber is actually needed to make like really big beehives. But it was fun, and it was so different from ordinary spinning, and I will try it again and make them bigger. Beautiful. This is from Esther. She was playing around with boucle, and she just did a beautiful job. She used unspun yarn, held triple and quadruple with woolly binders and cores, and then she's always wanted to play with her unspun stash, and it was inspired by the new yarn by, I think it's Homer Oak Ire. Super squishy and fun to make. Beautiful job here, Esther. Really fun. And also from Renata, these colors. I mean, you guys know me. I love all these colors. These are like my favorite colors right now. Finished her spiral yarn, and then she used I think it's John Arbin Textiles is JAT, Seafarer Venus as thin singles, and then Bramble Ridge Cormo in Courtyard as her thick and thin. Both spun Z. She likes it, but she could have put more twist into the singles because a bit more twist in the ply would have been better, she thinks. The gray spiral yarn she spun in December was plied with a commercial wool lace yarn. Much easier to do because the thinner thread doesn't lose twist, and it did not get too much twist. Whereas with this one, she felt like she needed a bit more twist. And that's great. Like those are great things to learn, right? And go into that yarn again, and you make it again, and you sort of have some idea of what you want to do next time. Really beautiful colors. Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing everything that you do and for oh my goodness, and for participating and for being here and being a part of the community. It means a lot to me and Rebecca and Dion. It means that we can keep doing what we do here and keep creating and keep enjoying this time with you guys and you know, doing what we do and doing what we all love. If you don't mind taking a moment to like and subscribe, I really appreciate that. There is the links down below if you want to find out more and feel like this is a place that you maybe would find a home. We would love to welcome you in. And this show, our next stream is in next week will be the Wool Circle, same time, same place. I think is that January 27th already. Oh my goodness. The Wool Circle is next week, and then February 3rd we'll be back here with the live stream again. So I hope that you have a wonderful couple of weeks and that your life is full of making, that you're able to carve out some time every day to spend working on stuff. I've been really trying to batch things and get through things a little bit more strategically, and that's been working really well. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. And until next time, happy spinning, happy weaving, happy knitting, happy all the things. I wish you all the best. I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.